Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani Design PD-1662 Batman NH34A version. This watch is available from Pagani Design all factory store on AliExpress for €230. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in this cardboard watch box, and it sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel in the base, as one would expect. Although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping from any damage, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to use a cardboard watch box, bearing in mind this is a low tier price point piece at €230. With regards to the items, this is the owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Seiko NH34A automatic. This is the guarantee card, and as usual the reverse isn't filled in. However, I'm pleased to report the watch is covered by the usual 12-month international guarantee. This is the plastic tag. And lastly, one also gets this Pagani Design branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of a piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani Design PD-1662 Batman NH34A version. So, there are two notable upgrades to the V2, this NH34A version. We have an upgrade in the movement. Previously, the Pagani Design PD-1662 used the Pearl DG5833 GMT. This uses the Seiko NH34A. The other difference is this has a fully lumed ceramic bezel insert, which is lumed with BGW9 Superluminova. The V1 version only had white paint in the ceramic bezel insert. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 40mm case diameter. We have a 48mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 13mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The Jubilee style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the flip lock clasp. As you can see, the flip lock clasp is signed to a high standard with Pagani Design engraved. Flawless brushed satin finishing to the outer sections of the body, and that contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the centre of the body, and that complements the mirror polished flanks. No sharp edges, no burrs, it doesn't have sharp corners, so it's a very well finished flip lock clasp. I'll show you the interior. Solid 316L grade stainless steel, matte section to the centre section of the body, and that contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks. So it's a well executed flip lock, and we also have a 5mm EaseLink style extension, which is solid mil 316L grade stainless steel. Now the EaseLink style extension works very well. This is better done than other Pagani Design flip lock clasps. Sometimes these extensions are too loose or alternatively too tight, but they've got it just right with this one. It's got a nice firm resistance, but it does deploy with a nice positive click, and it also snaps in with a nice positive click. So this actually works very well. So I think they've improved the quality control and the build quality of their EaseLink style extensions. Also the clasp snaps shut with a nice positive click, and there's a nice positive secondary click to the flip lock itself. So it's a well made flip lock clasp. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal. Now the negative, as always, with the flat sapphire crystal is there is no AR coating, and this piece really does need clear AR coating on the underside, because as you can see, when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, it's like a mirror. It is highly reflective, and it does reflect the silver mirror polished applied indices and the silver mirror polished Mercedes handset. So this is an upgrade I would like to see Pagani Design introduce. They have used AR coating on some of their models, such as the PD-1662 Explorer and Air King homages, and also the PD-1733, which is the Milgauss homage. So at this price point, they are capable of using AR coating, and I think the 1662 really does need it, as you can see. So very shiny, very reflective, and a disappointment they haven't used AR coating on this one. With regards to the dial layout, it follows the classic GMT Master 2, which this is an homage to. So the hands are correctly proportioned, and so are the applied indices. And I like the fact the dial isn't over-branded with the necessary text or specification, just the right amount of information. We have a contrasting blue GMT, which complements the blue GMT hour hand. 2.5 times Cyclops magnifier, which is good, and it does a good job of magnifying the black Arabic numerals on the white date wheel. With regards to the bezel, there's room for improvement with regards to the quality control. If you look to the left of the loomed triangle, in between the 22-hour Arabic numerals and also the triangle, you can see there appears to be a black scuff or scratch on the ceramic, and that's a disappointment that this was missed by Pagani Designs QC. So as you can see, if you look closely, just to the left of the triangle, you can see it looks like a black line in the ceramic. So I think they should have rejected this ceramic bezel insert and they should have exchanged it. So disappointing QC. Now with regards to the quality of the finishing to the ceramic, the black and blue is finished well. It's got a glossy finish to it, and I like that they've split the black and blue portions halfway across the 6. This is something that other low-tier brands get incorrect. The black and blue aren't 50-50 symmetrical, and as you can see on the Pagani Design 1662 bezel, the black and blue portions split across the centre of the 6, so they have got it 50-50, so that's good. They've done a good job of inlaying the triangle, the hour dots and also the Arabic numerals with BGW9, but however, I would prefer if they'd inlaid it with white paint and used BGW9 on the dial and hands, because they haven't. They've used Lume, as I'll show you in the Lume test. With regards to the bezel, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, nice finishing to the scallops, a nice mirror polishing to the top edge, bevel to or chamfer to the top edge of the bezel, so it's well executed, no sharp points to the teeth, the scallops are well finished. So let's test the 120 click unidirectional bezel. Now strictly speaking, as this is a GMT Master 2 homage, it should have a bi-directional bezel, but one has to expect some cost cutting measures at this price point, so using 120 click unidirectional bezel as per the PD-1661 is acceptable. It's got a very light resistance to it. Now it feels very similar to the PD-1661 Smurf, which I recently reviewed. That is also a 2022 piece. I personally would prefer a heavier resistance as per the Seiko 5KX, and I think that although it's even all the way through the 360 degrees, it feels too light. I think that they need to tighten up the ratcheting mechanism to make it tighter. On a positive note, there's no lateral side-side play, but we do have some back play. Now I would describe the back play as half a click of back play, and it's present all the way through the 360 degrees, as you can see. So they need to tighten up the resistance and also improve upon the QC on the back play, because half a click is unacceptable, although it doesn't have lateral side-side play. So I think they could improve upon it. Let's check the alignment. Okay, so the Lume's triangle does align correctly with the triangle index on the dial and the 12 o'clock minute tick on the chapter ring. So the alignment is correct, no lateral side-side play, but just half a click of back play to resolve. With regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished, mirror polished cap to it and embossed with a Pagani Design shield to a high standard. Let's test the screw down crown execution. The screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters, which is perfectly acceptable. Absolutely silky smooth. This is 10 out of 10 screw down crown execution. So with the NH35A automatic, like the 35A, in the first position one can manually wind it to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Feels smooth to manually wind. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. So the architecture of the 34A is the same as the 35A. The only difference is they've added the GMT hour hand to the cannon pinion, which is driven off the date complication. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quickset date complication. So rotating the crown anti-clockwise advances the quickset complication, as one would expect. Nice positive click. There's a good indexing on the 34A. There's no discernible difference between the 35A and the 34A date complication. They feel exactly the same. It's a characteristic I really like about both movements. Nice positive clicks, and the alignment is correct of the date wheel. It clicks over very well. Now, the GMT hour hand on the 35A is driven off the date complication. So, in the date setting position, rotating the crown clockwise advances the blue GMT hour hand, as you can see. And each hour has a positive click, so it indexes very well. With each click, as you can see, the alignment is good. And one can also cycle through the 24 hours, as you can see. So it's good one can hack the movement and set the GMT hour hand independently of the hour and minute hand, and it works very well. So pulling it out to the second click position is now the time setting position, and one can also rotate the GMT hour hand through 24 hours in the conventional method when setting the time. As you can see, no back play clockwise and anti-clockwise. So the 34A feels exactly the same as the 35A, which you'll be familiar with. There's no discernible difference. I like that there's no back play clockwise and anti-clockwise. When you rotate the crown, there's an immediate response. The minute hand immediately moves, so it's a very well executed tight movement. So it has hacking. If you look at the second hand, one can set the time precisely to the second. Pushing the crown back in has a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. This is outstanding. Screw down crown execution. Feels silky smooth. And the interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube is perfect. Very good quality machining, and they deserve full credit for a very well executed screw down crown. So the NH34A feels exactly the same as the 35A. Absolute pleasure to set the GMT hour hand, the date complication, and also set the time. Hand winding and hacking are very good. So I'll show you the case back. We have an exhibition case back which is glazed with mineral crystal. The stainless steel portion to the exhibition case back is very well executed. Concentric CNC lathe tool machining to the inner section, and that contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the circumference. Milled slots are very well executed, no sharp edges, no burrs. The quality of the engraving is very high standard, and it does a good job of displaying the NH34A, which is a sterile undecorated movement with the exception of the engraved rotor. Visually, it looks very similar to the 35A because the architecture is the same as I've detailed. The only discernible difference is the GMT hour hand is added to the cannon pinion, but the rest of the architecture of the 34A is identical to the 35A, including the rotor. Mineral crystal is acceptable, and it's very flat and low profile, so fits very close to the wrist, feels very comfortable. It's a very good quality screw down exhibition case back, which provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters, which is perfectly acceptable. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the case. They're very well machined, and no sharp edges, no burrs. The underside to the case is also well finished, no sharp edges to the underside of the flanks. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelets. I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it will fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist. As you can see, I can easily slide an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp at all times. The taper is perfect. 20 down to 16 is the industry standard, and it works very well for a 40mm head of the piece. It does a good job of being an homage to the GMT Master 2 Jubilee bracelet. Beautiful luster to the outer links. The brush satin finishing is done very well, and that complements the flawless mirror polishing to the 3 mirror polished centre links. So no sharp edges to it, doesn't pull arm hair, no sharp edges to the underside of the flanks or the centre links. Articulates very well, wraps around the wrist very comfortably, and they've done a good job of the end links. They're a good tight fit to the head of the piece. 48mm lug to lug is the perfect sweet spot. Regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively, 48 is perfection personified. It is the perfect lug to lug measurement. So nice length and also nice lug width. 20 down to 16 is the perfect taper. 40mm gives nice wrist presence, but this will fit you regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. So it is a very good homage to the GMT Master 2 Batman because we have very similar proportions, 40 by 48mm lug to lug and 20 down to 16 taper. Now, one thing I really like about it is it's 13mm exactly, so therefore it's easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, and therefore an ideal daily wear piece. So it does do a very good job of being an homage to the GMT Master 2 Batman, but however it really would benefit from clear AR coating because as you can see it's very shiny and reflective like a mirror. I think they really should have inlaid the bezel with white paint because that would have been better legibility than using the BGW9 and use the BGW9 on the dial and hands. So comfortable piece to wear, does feel very well balanced on the Jubilee style bracelet. 146 grams, which is lighter than the Oyster bracelet version, and that's something to consider. It does feel better balanced on the Jubilee bracelet. On the Oyster it feels slightly heavier, and I think the Jubilee bracelet is the correct choice for this Batman homage because it is also referred to as the Batgirl when it's on the Jubilee, and I think it looks very good with the Batman bezel and the Jubilee style bracelet. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, they've used two different lumes on this watch. On the ceramic bezel insert, it's BGW9 Super Luminova. On the dial and hands, it clearly isn't BGW9. They've used blue Luminova, and one can see the difference in the two tones. The BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert is a lighter blue, and on the dial and hands, you can see it's a darker blue, which is clearly blue Luminova. Now, this is where I think they've made a mistake. Rather than using BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert, they should have just used white paint as a cost-cutting measure and then used BGW9 on the dial and hands, because it's on the dial and hands that we need the BGW9 more. So it's a clear cost-cutting measure. Now, it's a curiosity why they've added BGW9 to the ceramic bezel insert, but they didn't put it on the dial and hands, and I think it's a cost-cutting measure too far. Even if they had to increase the retail and the wholesale price by €5, I think it would have been worthwhile to get BGW9 on the dial and hands, because blue Luminova clearly doesn't perform as well. So looking at the ceramic bezel insert, you can see the BGW9 is performing well, it's glowing very brightly, and it will continue to glow for a good length of time. So we're clearly looking at 5 to 6 layers of BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert. But on the dial and hands, it's disappointing as always, because it's only 3 to 4 layers of Luminova versus 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. So it's performing okay, but I think white paint on the ceramic bezel insert and BGW9 on the dial and hands would have been a better choice at this price point. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. Now, the previous version of this 1662 used the Pearl DG5833 GMT. The negative of the 5833 is it's an unreliable movement. It's the luck of the draw whether one gets a good or bad one. And there's no way of telling if you're going to get a good or bad quality 5833. The other problem is they're not very accurate. So the NH34A is a very good upgrade at this price point. The architecture is the same as the 35A. Now, it's a new movement for 2022, so as yet it is unproven, but as the architecture is the same on the 34A to the 35A, I'm absolutely confident the reliability is going to be the same as the 35A, which is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. 24 joules, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is useful complications, and a quick set complication, which I've demonstrated. So exactly the same as the 35A. The stated accuracy is the -20 to +40 seconds per day. This one is running at +10, which is fast. Now, I would like to see Pagani Design regulate the 34As better than +10. Yes, it's within -20 to +40, but +10 isn't very impressive. It is possible to regulate a 35A to within ±5 seconds per day, and so therefore it is also possible to regulate a 34A to the same within ±5 per day. +10 is fast. I think they should regulate it better, but it is acceptable. So this one is running consistently at +10 when it's fully wound to 40 hours, and I think that it could be regulated to +5. But having said that, it works very well. The GMT hour hand can be moved independently, and also the hand winding and hacking works very well. So I think it's the correct choice of movement. Now, I'm pleased to see them upgrade from the 5833 to the NH34A, because really the 5833 was known for being unreliable and also inaccurate. The 34A will be more reliable and also more accurate. So it's good to see Pagani Design upgrade to the 34A, and that is reason to purchase this watch. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So currently this is €230. Now, in the 11/11 sale, the price of the NH34A version was €178, and I expect the Pagani Design stores, including Pagani Design All Factory store, to reduce the price from the current €230 down to €178 in the Black Friday sale. So I would say to you it's worth waiting until the Black Friday sale, because the price I think will drop to €178 as per the 11/11 sale. but I'm going to base my valuation on the current price, which is 230. I think the quality is okay, but I think the value is poor at €230. In order for this to be excellent quality and excellent value, they need to improve upon the QC issue. So, as I've detailed, there seems to be a mark or a scratch between the 22 Arabic numeral and also the triangle. If you look at the bezel, you can see there's a black line. So that's a QC issue. No AR coating is a cost-cutting measure, and we haven't got BGW9 on the dial and hands, but they have inlaid the bezel with BGW9. So in order to be excellent quality and excellent value, they need to have better QC on the bezel inserts, also AR coating and BGW9 on the dial and hands. The other thing they need to resolve is the back play on the bezel action. As you can see, half a click is unacceptable. Yes, it doesn't have lateral side-to-side play, and the alignment is okay, but to have half a click of back play, I can't say it's excellent quality and excellent value. So there is room for improvements, although they are moving in the correct direction by using BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert, and upgrading to the NH34A is a notable improvement. So I'm going to say the quality is okay, but the value is poor. I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration due to having the NH34A and the BGW9 bezel insert. But however, bear in mind the shortcomings of the piece. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pagani design PD-1662 Batman NH34A version. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.